Hey Katie, I'm going to do another one quickly, and this one is rowing across the river. This is an easy problem. You have one vector, which is her speed. I think she's rowing perpendicularly across the river, and that's at 2 meters per second. And then the current is going at 3 meters per second perpendicular to that. The current is having no effect whatsoever on her speed going across the river. They're perpendicular. Sometimes in math we say orthogonal, means perpendicular, and those two vectors, this horizontal component has no impact on the vertical component. So in the end, I could say that her ultimate vector velocity looks like that, but I don't really care in terms of the velocity at which she's crossing the river. So she's crossing the river at 2 meters per second, and she's got to cover a distance of 100 meters. Without too much thought, it's going to take her 50 seconds to do that. And what's this question even asking? I'm not reviewing what the questions are, but I'm trying to remember. So it's going to take her 50 seconds to cross the river. And in those 50 seconds, for each of those 50 seconds, she's traveling 3 meters per second to the east. So she's going to go 50 seconds times 3 meters to the east is 150 meters to the east before she gets across. But the big thing to think of there is that nothing is affecting this velocity of 2 meters per second as she's crossing the river to get to the other side. You know, you could be asked different questions. How far did she go? Well, she would have gone 100 meters across the river, 150 meters to the east. And then you'd use Pythagorean theorem to find out what this distance was. That's how far she would have traveled. That's a different question. But I'm going to wrap that up and say we answered that question. By the way, get back in touch with me if you have any questions about any of this stuff. I'm going to go to the next question. I'm going to answer another question, and then I'm going to stop as I continue on my process towards meal preparation. Which is I have two chores tonight, Katie. One is helping you, and one is meal preparation. Then we have this wacky question where omega is a velocity. Now it does happen to be the angular velocity. V is just velocity, but I'm trying to establish a correlation between these two things. Where my distance equals velocity times time. In this equation with omega, I would say that my angular change, that's just me making up a weird term, is equal to omega times t. That's my angular velocity times the time that I underwent that change. So if I'm changing my angle at 10 degrees a second for 3 seconds, my total angular change, I changed it at 10 degrees a second for 3 seconds, my total angular change is 30 degrees. In this problem, it's talking about, it's a hard, but it's an easy problem. We have omega there, and we have t there, and I'm thinking about this from, I think, a fairly clear recollection. My angular velocity was 10 for 2 seconds, and then it kicked up to 20 for the last 2 seconds, and cumulatively, that if this was 2 seconds, I started at 2 and I added 2 seconds to it, so that's 4. My angular velocity is always change in my angle over change in time. And I've got a, what am I interested in here? I'm really interested in what's my change in the angle, because the question is how many revolutions did you go through? The change in the angle is, well, let's put it this way, and I got to wrap this up because we're running out of time for my constraint. I could say, if this equation is true, then change in change in delta, what do we call that? Whatever. No, change in is equal to W times delta t. So I can say omega delta t equals change in theta. And W delta t, which is this plus this, is area under the curve. And you need to remember that, is this is 10 times 2, and this is 20 times this distance of 2. So I have 10 times 2 plus 20 times 2. And that's equal to 20 plus 40 is 60 radians. That's how far the angle has progressed. So the angle has progressed 60 radians. The question is how many revolutions? And that's going to be 60 radians. Each revolution is 2 pi radians. So that's my answer for how many revolutions I've done. 60 radians is how many radians I've progressed over 2 pi, which is how long I have to go to progress one revolution. And that's going to be, we can say, that's about, pi is about 3. And so that's 60 by about 3. That's going to be a little less than 10. That's that. I'm going to get back to you later, Katie, with more stuff. All right. Thank you. Talk to you later.